Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Palms. During this COVID-19 pandemic, when we've all had to self-isolate and physically distance, Affton Christian Church has stayed and remained closed to in-person worship. We put together a lively and vivacious worship service on Sunday mornings, but just the small worship team gathers. And so we've missed out on our fellowship opportunities. And that's the whole point for this show, is to help us get to know each other, especially during this season of COVID. And perhaps we'll even get to know ourselves a little bit better too. I do need to lay out a legally binding an obligation that I must say, and I quote, Between the Palms is a blatant ripoff of two shows, James Lipton's Inside the Actor's Studio and Between Two Ferns, hosted by Zach Galifianakis. Now the latter, Between Two Ferns, I should say the only kind of derivation of that is the palms. It's good to have a palm because I think they remind us of a better, more relaxing place where we can just sit around and chat and get to know each other. During this interview, it's an interview style where I'll ask our guests questions and they'll answer the first thing that comes to their mind. Also, legally, I need to say that any copying or rebroadcasting or reproducing of this show, like anybody ever would, without the express written consent of Affton Christian Church and the St. Louis Cardinals, is strictly prohibited. Well, we have a first with our guest today. Our guest wrote their own introduction. So I'm going to just simply read what they wrote. So let's begin. Our next guest on Between the Palms is everyone's favorite millennial. They have been a part of the Affton Christian Church community for a little over 20 years, sharing their gifts of music and song, along with their passion for teaching through playwriting and puppet ministry. They are an artist, having earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in graphic design, and currently works for their local library district in St. Charles, Missouri. This individual represents several letters in the LGBTQ+ acronym and will be sharing some of their journey with gender identity. Things haven't always been rainbows and unicorns for this person. In the past few months, like many others, they have suffered and struggled with their mental health. Anxiety and depression are everyday battles that feel almost unwinnable during a time when we must self-isolate to save lives. Watching from our computer screens and televisions as our country becomes divided before our eyes. This individual is a strong advocate for bringing awareness to mental health issues, reforming sex education in schools, fighting for women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and the Black Lives Matter movement. Please welcome to our show, Hunter Davis. Hunter, welcome. There you
Hi.
are. How's it going?
It's going all right.
Good to see you. You work and are isolating at home in St. Charles?
That's correct, yes.
Well, I hope the weather is treating you nice over there.
Today, yes. It's been rainy, though, the last few days.
Good. Well, yeah, same here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you a series of standard questions that I ask everybody, and we'll go from there, okay? Feel free to answer. Feel free to give us the unedited version, the director's cut version, or feel free to edit. It's your call. So here's the first one. I'm always interested in names. Now, Heather was your birth name, and you have since transitioned and identify now as Hunter. How did you come up with that name?
So I actually came up with the name a long time ago when I was in middle school. I used to be I am on writing communities online, and a lot of people online actually use different aliases than their names. And so when I was first starting out, I chose Hunter because it was the closest to my birth name.
Oh.
And yeah. and that was before I knew anything about gender identity or transitioning, but it's kind of stuck with me over the years.
Okay. Do you have a middle name?
I do.
And do you use it?
Yes and no. So my middle name is Jean, and so it could be used both ways, as feminine and masculine.
Were you named after anybody in particular?
I was. My middle name is the same middle name as my mother.
Oh, okay. Well, she's all right.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, next question. What is the first thing that you do in the morning?
I get up and I feed the cat. He's in the window right now. I don't know if anybody can see his little tushy.
Does the cat wait for you to wake up?
No.
Okay. Cat wakes you up.
He crawls all over me.
Get my food. What did you say your cat's name was?
His name is Pie.
Pie. P-I or P-I-E?
P-I-E, like the food, because he's sweet as.
Oh, well. That's adorable.
Yeah.
What is the oldest thing in your home?
I would say me. But actually, I think I have a box of my dad's. He had like a woodworking project that he did in high school.
Okay.
And it's like little chess pieces, and they're like this big.
Oh.
And I think I have those.
So when he was
in the other room.
When he was in high school.
I think so.
So like what, 1920s?
Don't let him catch you saying that.
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I think a lot of music does. Just, I don't know, anything that sort of has like a nice melody that I can just kind of immerse myself in, and then that's kind of how the ideas start flowing along with the music. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
Do you have a favorite either genre or musical artist?
So I would say my favorite genre is like soundtrack music, movie music, pretty much, or anything classical.
Okay. What is your favorite word?
I don't know. I like to make up words. So any word that I make up is my favorite word.
Do you have a for instance, or is it all contextual?
It depends. I like saying diggity dang a lot.
Diggity dang?
Diggity dang.
What's your least favorite word?
Pop. As in, if you add this color or something, that'll give this piece a pop. Like, okay. It's used a lot in my line of work, and it's just used too much.
So what do you do to unwind?
Usually I just turn on YouTube or something and just let videos play. And then I'll usually lay down and play like Animal Crossing, or I'll do reading or something like that.
Okay. So just to have something going on in the background. Do you have your YouTube set to continuous play or whatever that setting is that just automatically?
Yeah, the autoplay, yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite curse word? And you may have already said it, I don't know.
Fuck. That's a pretty good one.
That is.
It's got that hard consonant, so it feels very, very good when you say it.
There is a real, almost, whole body reaction to saying that word, isn't there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What sound or noise do you love?
Well, right now, I really love the purr of a cat. It's very soothing.
I'm sorry, go ahead. It's
It's
soothing?
very soothing.
Yeah. So then what sound or noise do you hate?
Anything that is repetitive and I don't want to say high pitched, but has like a higher volume repetitiveness. I just can't stand that.
Anything in particular? You have a for instance?
Um, I would say with like some genres of music that have like a really, really steady beat to them, but it's almost too overwhelming. And like that's all I hear is that beat instead of like the actual tune. And so that can get really on my nerves.
Yeah. So what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Um, I think realistically, I would like to attempt to be part of organizations that work with schools and particularly with their sex education programs. That is something kind of very important to me and something that I think I lacked when I was younger. And I feel that students would benefit from my experiences and just having kind of the resources. So that's what I would want to kind of go towards as a occupation.
Something like a nonprofit agency that goes in and so what kind of reform are we talking about? What does that mean to you when you talk about sex education reform?
So I think a lot of it has to do with right now in the classrooms, or at least from my experience, it's always considered like taboo, the subject of sex, and you know the human body itself and physiology, and we're trying to teach kids at a young age or at an age where this is kind of something that is not talked about, and so it gets kind of um, I know kids seem to laugh at it and think of it as a joke instead of like a learning opportunity. And also they tend to put the responsibility on the teachers, which doesn't always help because even though those students have relationships with their teachers, it might be better to have somebody else come in and maybe be able to have some real conversations with the students that that they might be too afraid to talk about with somebody that they know.
Yeah. Well, that's important. And that would be very impactful too. We seems like we live in or at least we contrive a binary world around us that you have to be either this or that. And that's true for everything from sexual orientation to gender identity to favorite color, you know, everything. And how does one break through that binary world into claiming a world of their own?
Well, it's very difficult. I am still on my journey to trying to break that binary, just because you've been ingrained with this as a child to think this way, that you have to fit in this box or you fit in this box, that there's no in between. And I know now that with the younger generations like Gen Z, there's a lot more openness now. And, kids are able to express themselves the way they want to, which I think is great. But also there are people who, discriminate against that, or they don't understand because they haven't been educated in what that means, what the expression means. And so, yeah.
Do you think some of the resistance to what's going on in society, um, transgender issues, LGBTQ plus issues, even even the Black Lives Matter issue and things like that, um, at least it seems to me, and see if you agree with this or not, a lot of it's based on limited experience and exposure to people that live in those lives and communities and cultures.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, it's the lack of experiences, the lack of education on those topics, that, and people just kind of go off of like what they've been told instead of kind of what they have researched. and learned.
Well, what kind of advice would you like to give to parents of children who are searching, struggling, discovering who they are?
Well, first, I would say to the parents, if they have a child who is questioning either maybe their sexual orientation or their gender identity, I think it is important that you tell them that you are going to support them, and that they have a safe spot with you, because that is also a struggle with some kids these days, that they don't have that safe spot to be able to kind of explore and kind of go through their own journey. And so that's the first thing I would say to parents, is make sure that you are there for your kids, and that you support their journey.
I think, being a minister of a church, I think that's also true for the church as well, to let kids know and let everybody know that we are here for them and support them and love them on their journey. What's one of the earliest memories of Affton Christian Church that you have?
I think the earliest memory I have is that when we joined the church, I was about 9, I think, or so. And of course, they wanted to try to put us into the right age group. And for me, personally, I didn't really get along with kids my age or younger. I was more interested in being with the older kids. And so my first memory is actually going to one of the classes with the older kids and being in there. And yeah, that's one of my first memories.
Okay. Oh, cool. That's interesting. I think you may be one of the first people that I know that kind of identified that they relate better to older people at that age.
I still do it now. I'm an old soul at heart.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
I think it's a nice idea. I don't know if it's real or not, but I think it would be nice to be able to come back as something else.
So what, if you could choose, what kind of life would you have lived in a previous life?
I don't know. I think I would have been a scholar or a professor of some sort.
Okay. Cool. Okay, what profession, I kind of got away from all the questions that I had written down. What profession would you not like to do?
Any profession that has me dealing with a lot of people. I tend to get very overwhelmed with crowds, and with a lot of people, I get very overstimulated very fast. And so, like, even when I was when we would have fellowship dinners downstairs, the dinner would be done, but everybody else is still talking, still hanging out, and I would have to leave. I would go upstairs and sneak back into the sanctuary because it was quiet and I was by myself. And I could plunk around on the piano and feel better.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to know. I mean, I think you're incredibly self-aware and have been for quite a long time, and so I find that amazing, and I'm proud of you for that. We just naturally assume that church being a social group, everybody wants to be social and enjoys, or everyone is an extrovert, or all
right.
Sometimes we just want our own space. Okay, couple of concluding questions then. Excluding Jesus, who in the Bible would you like to talk to?
Probably one of the females, either Ruth, Mary, for that matter, any one of those.
Yeah.
Esther, maybe.
Anything in particular you want to talk to them about? Ask them?
I just kind of want to know, like, what their daily life would be in that time period when the Bible was foretold, and just kind of how that relationship worked. Since I think the Bible is very heavily has a lot of masculine qualities to it, and so I think it would be interesting to have kind of a feminine input to that.
Yeah, yeah. And what is kind of strikes me as amazing is, given that the world in which that time period spanned, over the centuries, was extremely and exclusively male dominated, patriarchal. And the fact that there are women that actually have names that are in the Bible, women that are named, is amazing to me, because that didn't happen in that time period. So I think you're right on, talking to and finding out what their life was like, and their struggles and their journey. Okay, last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I think one of the things I would like to hear would be that he's proud of me and that I did enough.
Good. Well, I want to ask this all the questions that I have, and I want to thank you for giving us your time and sharing with us things that are deeply personal, but also being a good example and role model for everyone. I also want to give you an opportunity to say anything that you might want to share in terms of things that drive your passion and your interest at this time.
No.
We're having some technical difficulties right now. I think it's cutting out an awful lot. But we can try to make it work. If there's anything that you might, if there was anything you needed to say or wanted to say.
No, I don't have anything to say really, except for that I wish people luck, and for those who are also struggling with being at home, that you're not alone, and that reach out to people, because that will help.
Good, thank you. I also want to say that I've always admired you. I think you are very courageous. I think you're brave, and really appreciate the person that you are. So it's been an honor and pleasure to get to know you and loan you my laptop for a time period when you were in the hospital way back when. So it's been good, and I've been really proud of your journey.
Thank you.
Hunter, thanks for being a guest on Between the Palms, and we look forward to touching base and hopefully one day see each other in person again.
I hope so too.
Take care of yourself.